Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator for startups in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue, build $1 trillion of global GDP and 10 million jobs. And in support of that mission, we do week after week these free mentoring sessions. This is the 365th episode of the 1M1M Roundtable, and we have 3 presenters. The event is being recorded. If you want to live tweet the show, use hashtag 1M1M. Follow us on Twitter at Romana and at 1M1M. Either is fine. We publish a lot of interesting and educational, inspirational, informative content through these channels. And the 1M1M Roundtables channel on YouTube is the repository of every single recording of these roundtables. So if you find them useful and want to go listen to some older ones, you can. They are extremely good learning material. These are the call-in numbers. This is a roundtable, so we do want to hear from you a lot. And the most you will learn is by participating through through asking questions, either by calling in or by asking questions in public chat and so forth. So line up your questions. We have a little ways to go before we open up for Q&A. We have some presentations first. So let's go straight away there. We're actually starting with the entrepreneur pitch session today. Let me just set some expectations here for you. This is a working session, and we are on your side. The only reason we are here is to help you, remove some roadblocks, brainstorm, strategize about how to go about, putting one foot before the other in your ventures. There is absolutely no other agenda here. The whole program, whether it's the free mentoring sessions or the premium program, the basic program, everything is designed to help you move forward. Now, you may disagree with the feedback you get here, and that's fine. It's your venture. You will make the decisions. Just take into consideration the feedback you're getting here, and it may or may not be useful for you. One thing I will, state up front, just because this is an issue that we see over and over and over and over again, is that not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money, and raising money doesn't guarantee success. So you will need to keep this in mind. The obsession with financing is rampant in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So if you have this misconception that entrepreneurship equals financing, please throw that away, open your window, throw that right out, because that is a grand fallacy of our ecosystem. So we're going to start with Purnima Srinivasan from Walnut Creek, California. Purnima, please unmute your line and tell us what you're working on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. Thank you for introducing me. I love anything creative in my life, so I will begin my story. I was a former physician for more than 17 years in America and 27 in the world. And I got into this health tech idea and new startup and kind of riding my second wave after I looked up an advertisement by you and by NASDAQ on LinkedIn. So, and I'm very fond of seniors and geriatric patients and geriatric care, and that's what I spent my entire life on. So I'm going to begin. So Shamana, you can move to the next slide. Okay. Payne, in the senior industry, a lot of things are not clear, especially now, especially in America now, because Medicare, Medi-Cal, and the insurance companies do not want to pay for any products for seniors, including durable medical equipment like wheelchairs or even oxygen machines or even find places for them to live, and even, they have no access. So my main issue to help seniors and their families, community professionals in aging life industry, healthcare systems, and all phases of the senior life, and bridge the healthcare gaps forever in an even better, easy, cost-effective way with competitive pricing, providing the solutions that will change their world for the better. So not only will this help the seniors, but also helps the families, the communities, and the world. So I named 1 to 3A, that's my little thing about accessibility, availability, and affordability. Most people that I saw in my life, they had good insurances, but when they left my office, many of them were homeless. They lived in cars because the pricing for home is really, really extravagant, and there is no kind of rule or regulation, so anybody can charge anything. So, and most people are unable to afford the kind of care they want. And second, access to, maybe a specialist they need, a geriatric physician, or the other side is a decent priced private physical therapist. So after 21 days, if the Medicare goes away, or if the hospital says we cannot order any physical therapy for you, many families are falling into this deep problem where they cannot afford a therapist because they ask for anything and everything, and then families have no choice. Sometimes they have to pay way more than like 100 times more than what it really is costing. The third thing, same with transportation. Very few people can afford transportation because same thing, no pricing, no rules, no regulations. DME is durable medical equipment, includes wheelchairs, walkers, hospital beds, over-the-bed tables, over-the-commode chairs, special trays, and all kind of equipment that a senior needs. Because without these things, including home health, private duty care, home care, shower services. So some people may just need like 3 showers a week or something, and they are not able to afford it because people are just, first of all, it's not accessible or available or not even affordable. So that is my main problem.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So can you segment this for me? You're talking about a segment clearly when you talk about shower services and stuff. You're talking about a geriatric segment that is homeless and they live in cars. Is that your primary target segment?
Yeah, my segment is actually geriatric patients per se. Anybody that is a geriatric, 65 and over, coming out, and it might be a homeless person. If we can, find a home for him in a cost-effective way, or it could be a senior coming out with a need for a hospital bed but unable to afford it. And by the time the family gets there or whatever, and, between the family members, the patient already has a big bed sore and is going back to the hospital. So this is increasing hospital rates, re-hospital rates. Same thing with the shower.
So Purnima, my first reaction to this is I would like you to segment and choose a segment because whatever, whatever solution you come up with is going to vary from segment to segment. The composition of the needs, the prioritization of the needs are going to be different from segment to segment. And one thing we've learned in the methodology of bringing a business to, sustainability is to start small and start with a very, very precisely positioned niche. So you figure out which one is the one that you want to pick, but I would like you to narrow things down because, home health care for homeless geriatrics, these are different segments, different affordability points, different prioritization points. I mean, shower service is probably very high for the people who do not have a home, whereas it is not an issue at all for people who do have a home. So I think that if you segment it that way and decide on which segment is the one that you want to go after, you will come up with a very different basket of services and solutions.
Okay, good. Shaman, I just want to let you know I am kind of focusing on only two things: durable medical equipment and placement. That's it. So those are the main two segments that I'm currently interested in. So what to start with? Just two things. So you got it, right? Did you hear me?
I heard you, but I don't think I understood you. What are you talking about?
So
when you started here by saying that you are focusing on accessibility, affordability, availability, and then you list all these things like shower services and you spend a considerable amount of time talking about things like that, it's very confusing for somebody listening to you. Is that what is it that you're focusing on? So that also warrants that you make a change in your first slide itself to be much clearer, much crisper, and
good.
Front state, what is it that you're going after?
Okay, so normally when a person goes to the hospital or comes out, or even from a healthcare system perspective, most of these things, like for example DME or placement, senior placement or something like that, they are not available. So there are families. They're stuck because their senior needs to leave the hospital, but then they don't have a place to live. And then the hospital wants to send them out because the insurance doesn't pay or the family cannot afford. So I am thinking of finding ways, like cost-effective ways where people, the placement people, the different agencies or different homes and assisted living facilities or even other things can compete with proper pricing. So people can know exactly where they can send their mom or dad to and what they can afford. You know what I mean? So,
so you are like a concierge service for seniors in a particular community or in multiple communities?
Yeah, it's a concierge service, but it's not totally that I will be taking by hand and taking everybody to their houses and, those kind of things. It is a platform I want to make so that people can go check in and say, my mom is leaving Walnut Creek today, and what places are available, what are the costs, what are the facilities, what are the things in each facility, and then the families can make their choice.
So it's more a directory service.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. Yes, better pricing so they can leave with a place to stay instead of just not able to leave.
Okay.
So most of this is not paid by insurances anyways. So what happens is if you don't have a senior leaving the hospital, first of all, or going to a wrong home or, getting stuck somewhere in the family's home, there will be rates of rehospitalizations, hospitalizations. There's a lot of comorbid risk factors because people are left alone at home and, go away because they cannot afford a home for the senior or some help for the senior. So in this way, we can prevent these things from happening. So if the family can find a good place or the senior can find a good place, so that is the advantage. The unfair advantage is, unfortunately, this is a healthcare system disruption because normally, what happens is either the hospital doesn't have, like I said earlier, can you see me? Okay. Normally, the hospital is unable to find the places because they only have 24 hours or 48 hours. Or families are unable to because the internet is really confusing. Second, it's all monopoly because the hospital wants to send them to only these places that cost like $25,000 a month, and the family is unable to control. It's like monopoly. So this is a platform where there's cost control with quality so that people can get the services they need for the price they can afford. Not everybody can afford $25,000 a month. So this is what I'm looking at. So, I was thinking of two types of things, an app and a web version. So I thought, customers, we can charge 99 cents an app or free membership for the web version. And hospitals, DMEs, a premium fee-based service for the e-commerce, about 99 cents for the app. It was kind of still thinking about it. So, the reason I did this is because what I saw in the community for more than 17 years in the U.S. Really made me think about this, because it is a thing that is not going to be solved, because more and more seniors coming out, almost 100,000 a year, and it's a growing problem. So,
where is your competition slide, Purnima?
Which one is that?
Competition. There are things like that out there, so I would like to know what comparative analysis you've done so far.
Okay. I don't know if I put that slide, I'm not sure. The competition, what I see is, there are agencies out there that are allowing, it's like a one-on-one thing right now that's going around in the communities, that they have agencies, home care agencies or placement agencies. So they will take the families out to a place and show them 3 places. But most of them, the problem is they're trying to show big places, costly places, because there is a cut, like 20% cut they get or 15%, but it's not in the best interest of the patient or the family. So that is what I see in the community. The web, I've hardly seen them, not many of them. And especially for durable medical equipment, I don't recollect anything which I did research on.
So this doesn't sound right to me, because this is something, the whole geriatric healthcare system and related problems is being discussed a lot for a long time now. And already in the public chat, Samir Penkar is offering you one competitive solution, which is a place for mom. I don't know if you've looked at that. It is sounds very similar to what you're talking about, but I believe there are others. So your comparative analysis doesn't seem thorough to me. Directory, so let me just give you a general idea about directory services, the kind of directory services you're talking about. And it could very well be that your directory will be, more interesting and better researched and better qualified and better curated than yours. That's fine. The way directory services make money typically are either by the service providers that you list on that directory paying something to you for being part of that community, because or you pass on, you generate leads through the website and pass on leads and charge by leads. There are several kind of standard monetization strategies for this kind of services, and you would have to pick one or more of those, basically.
I think there was another slide, Ramana. I should go forward. This was the membership, the directory fee that that they would in order to place their ad and to compete with the pricing, the different facilities. For example, if you're talking about placement or if you're talking about durable medical equipment, they will have to pay a fee to get on the website and to competitively price, so that people can go and see what is available and pick and choose what they want. So there's a chicken and egg problem that you will encounter in a situation like this if you try to charge both sides, is that why one side will only come if the other side exists, and it will be very difficult for you to get them to pay right away. So for a while, for stuff like this, you're going to have to kind of make both sides free, get to critical mass so that you can, or at least one side free, and get to critical mass before you can start charging. And then you're going to need to validate what is the price point at which you can charge at least one side. I see.
Charging both sides will require that you get to a much, much deeper value proposition before you can charge both sides.
Oh, I see. Okay. So there was one slide, Shamana, if you go 2 slides back. I think I missed it. This one, yeah. So, the next one. The next, not this one, the following. The next one? Yeah, this one. So, customer acquisition, I did some research. I have all my past patients I know. And then I know of all the, working on the networking, meetups, and, the talk. talk.
We cannot hear you. If this noise is being streamed from your line, then we cannot hear you. You need to do something about it.
There is nobody in our house. There is nobody in my house.
So where is this line coming from, Maureen? Mute somebody else who's streaming this. All right, here we go. All right, so somebody else is streaming that noise. Go ahead.
I'm alone at home. So email list, you know, I thought of customer acquisition through events, meetups, talks, you know, and because I have done this, I have placed people during my medical practice, but I was not charging anybody because it was against the law. So I have connections with all these people because I've worked with them, so in the local communities.
So that's not sufficient. You're going to have to come up with online customer acquisition strategies. So you're going to need to learn online marketing. This is something we can teach you. There's a whole, you know, range of different ways online marketing is done, and you're going to need to figure out which one actually works in your community, because what you're trying to do is not necessarily reach the seniors themselves. Often you're trying to reach the caregivers, the family members. So you need to work through all of that, those details of exactly what is the service, exactly whom you're trying to reach, and so on and so forth, and how are you going to reach the businesses. So this is, you know, I think in principle it sounds fine, and there are, you know, lots of directory services businesses out there. But there are, you know, there is competition. There are, you know, issues with these businesses that you need to learn, and so start fleshing it out. I would say start fleshing it out. Figure out what the competition is doing. One of the best places you're going to learn from is through competition. So I would say your first order of business is to go deeper into the competitive analysis and really get a sense of what's happening in the competitive space, and then take it from there.
Sure. Okay, no problem. Yeah, I didn't decide on any prototype or any model because I don't know if that is the way to go, and I don't know.
Nope, not yet. You know. I would like you to first really get a clear sense of what is the business that you're building at a concept level of, you know, what is going to be, you know, what is the target audience, what is the, you know, what are the service providers that you need to get here, how are you going to acquire them, all those strategic elements I would like you to first iron out before you start building software. And until you figure out that this is valid, this is kind of viable, based on that strategic analysis, I don't want you to build any software, and there's no question of funding at this point. This is not fundable at this point.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Samana.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
So we can talk more after I finish the other pitches. You can ask more questions, and I'll spend more time on Q&A. Okay, thank you, Purnima. We're going to Muazzam Kamran from Karachi, Pakistan. Muazzam, please unmute your line and tell us what you're working on.
That was my kids over the phone, honestly. Sorry. They just kind of barged in the room. Yeah. I have to barricade myself in a room somewhere. Sorry. So let me introduce the concept. My name is Muazzam Kamran. I'm currently working as the head of marketing for a multinational financial services firm. The reason I made Wrightsmiths was because I kind of wanted to cut the cord when it comes to any sort of a, you know, corporate job, and just focus on something I'm passionate about, which was writing. Can you move to the next slide? Okay. So basically, Wrightsmiths started off as a digital workspace, or it basically started off as a platform for freelancers, for writers like myself. You know, throughout my corporate career, I've had the good fortune of writing for Tier 1 publications like Forbes and Gulf News and stuff like that. But one of the problems that I had was that anytime I wanted to showcase myself onto a particular platform, be it Facebook, be it LinkedIn, none of these were for me. I mean, I would kind of put up my work around these platforms, and, you know, it'd be trumped by Instagram, food, or something else within 5 minutes. So it didn't get me the kind of focus I wanted to. And any sort of space that is created for freelancers right now is really fragmented. There's no all-in-one platform that really gets everyone onto one space. So Writesmiths is as it says, it's a digital workspace. It's meant to evolve how freelancers work. It's there basically because, you want to socialize somewhere, you want to find work there as well, you want to learn there as well, and you just want to get entertainment there as well. So I built this all-in-one platform that, and it's been built. I built this all-in-one platform that has all of these things. I mean, you just log in, you're there, you've got your own social media feed, you can see what other people are doing, what they've accomplished, what they've achieved. Then you move on to the work aspect of it, which is the monetization model as well, because it's transaction based. So you find work there in terms of someone needs someone to write a 200-word article. That's
Marjam, question: how do you find work? Freelancers today find work through Upwork. And
yes.
Comparable sites. That's the best place where freelancers find work. How are you going to? Upwork has a very large community of businesses who hire freelancers through their platform. How are you going to compete with that find work piece of it? Because that is the core of people will come to you not to relax. They will come to you if you can help them find work.
100%, I agree with you. See, the thing with Upwork is that initially and even right now, I'm not trying to compete with the platform because obviously what I'm trying to establish is a digital workspace that gets everyone onto one page, be it Upwork, be it 10 other platforms who have jobs there listed, because I'm not charging anyone to post jobs there. Anything that I'll be charging will either be, if it's a direct lead that's come into my platform, 11% of the transaction fee, or it'll be a certain percentage of the transaction fee if it's a referral-based system. So what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to compete with the system. I'm not trying to blow it out of the water. I'm trying to build something onto it that is much more than it is. With the problem with our Upwork and Udemy and all these platforms was that they were all, they just talk about work and churn that work. There's no social engagement there. There's no sense of community.
People don't go there for social engagement. I'm not going there. When I look for freelancers there, I'm not looking for social engagement. I'm looking to hire people, give them what I need done, and I get it done. So why the social engagement part is not clear to me, that the social engagement part is a value that people are looking for. What gives you the impression that people are, the truth is freelancers are looking to find work, and that's about the most important thing that they're looking for. It's not clear to me that if you cannot provide that value, anyone will come to use your platform at all.
I understand that. I agree with you. The thing was, the product I built, it was a passion job for me. I built it because of my own, sense of, urgency around what I wanted to do. The one thing that's there with
your line is breaking up.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, but it's a garbled line. What kind of a line are you calling from?
I'm calling from the WebEx number, honestly. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
No.
Hello?
It's not better. Okay, talk some more. I can't figure out whether it's better or not.
Okay, so basically, see the social angle of it. Okay, so the social angle of it all was that one of the problems was that I can go there on the platform right now and search for jobs. I can go there and I can see all these listed jobs and I can apply to them. The platform doesn't ask you to do things as it wants. It asks you to do things as you want. If you want to interact with people there, because see, look at Apple. What Apple did was it kind of when it launched iTunes, the thing that it was competing with was these albums that were 12 songs long and all that sort of stuff. It said, let's break the model down. Let's, just try and sell one song as it is. I feel writing has evolved to a stage where you just don't need one person to write a book. You need multiple people collaborating on singular projects. I mean, as an example, I'm trying to hook up with someone and try to write a book with a series of authors who can kind of add their expertise around each and every chapter of it. If you look at what Facebook is doing right now, Zuckerberg just recently announced that they're trying to move towards a community-based model as well. And if you look at LinkedIn right now as well, what it's done is now there's the social angle there as well, but it's gotten the freelancer jobs there as well now. So they're trying to kind of, come into this model as well. So my entire perspective was that, people, the thing was that I was trying to build a digital workspace, which said that, don't try and cut the cord when it comes to corporate. Build a second career online. You can do the cooler talk that you do around your current workplace at this space, in this space. You can just, if you want to work there, you can work there. There's an entire literacy platform on this as well that says that anytime you want to acquire new skills, like I'll give you an example. I see that blockchain and AI are something that are, being written about. So I would want to say that why can't I take a class on this and just get some expertise? I can do that on the platform. I can do that on the platform. That is something that isn't there with Upwork. Upwork would want you to go to Linda or somewhere else and get those skills from somewhere else. Now, why should I have to just, not get what I want from one space? So that was why I built the learning or the literacy platform into this as well.
It's too complicated, Marjam. You're all over the place. You need to zero in on so if at some level you're still trying to do a two-sided marketplace with a workspace. And people only come to two-sided marketplaces if the marketplace is yielding its value. So, the overriding questions that you're going to have to answer is, how do you get people who are looking to hire freelancer writers to come to this site? And then how do you, if they come, then the writers will come, and they will come only if the writers come. So the question is, how are you going to crack the two-sided marketplace? And all this other stuff, workspace and all, comes later. So the question is, how do you convince people who are currently quite comfortable hiring on Upwork, how do you convince them that your platform is a better platform to work off? Because,
I completely understand. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off. Do you have something else to say? Should I continue?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, see, I understood that aspect of it. I did understand that, there would be people who would have reservations when they're coming onto this. The thing with Upwork and all these platforms is they're built in a certain age. Now you have things like blockchain and artificial intelligence coming in. So the things that I want to build around this platform are anti-plagiarism checks. I want to build stuff off of blockchain as well so that it, I know it sounds complex at this stage, but because I've worked in blockchain, I want to build something that can, have blockchains as the main engine that drives it, because, you should see any article, any publication, any piece that's being written on this as currency that's being exchanged. And it should be up for plagiarism check as well. I don't want people writing articles that are, they change a few words here and there and sell it to 10 people. So I don't want that happening. So that's the first thing that will happen with respect to this platform. Anything that is coming through this is quite well, validated. Another thing that is happening is, because at both ends and at both sides, I have chatbots or artificial intelligence bots that will, assess what your budgets are, how your content should be and can be procured. If a certain author or a certain writer that you're kind of honed in on is getting out of your range. You want to, there's a lot of content that you want to procure or develop as a brand every month or so. So there are certain months where you can do more, and there are certain months where you can do less. So what I want to do is I want to build something that's really, built around how work is. Even right now, there is Upwork, there are these kind of platforms where you look at these big tier 1, tier 2 brands. They don't go to these platforms. They go to these agencies who write these content pieces for them. It's still happening manually. And the problem is they don't know, but these agencies at the back end have Udemy or have some guy or a kid in Bangladesh writing that stuff, or in Pakistan writing the stuff for half the cost. So I want to crack that model. I want to build something.
So now you've come up with a nugget of an idea which may be more interesting. If your platform is a good collaboration platform for managing, let's say you have an agency that manages a lot of freelancers, and a lot of freelancers collaborate through that agency, catering to larger clients, you could potentially bring those agencies onto your platform on the basis of your collaboration capabilities. So the way I would go about it is I would go find 100 such agencies and show them your platform and validate what would it take for them to use your platform.
Okay.
And then you've cracked both sides of the equation. Then you've got the agencies who are using your platform, and they will be bringing their clients with them. So you have the whole cycle flowing, and that would be the starting point of how I would try to build this business. Because right now you don't have anything validated. You're saying that everything is validated, nothing is validated.
Okay, fair enough. Another thing that I just want to add before I move on to the questions is that the learning thing, the learning platform. See, the reason I built that, I know it gets a bit complex around this, but if you don't build the right feature set, someone else will. So the learning thing is there as an extra USP, because I know so many writers who have become institutions themselves, who are earning $10,000, $20,000 a month by writing on different platforms or for different clients. Now, a lot of these people say that, I want to pass on these skills and earn an extra buck around that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take learning, and I'm trying to do the same thing I try to do with respect to the Apple model. I'm trying to build.
Ajam, you're going to need to focus on the core value proposition first. And then, in subsequent, like maybe 2 years later, you layer in other stuff, but you first need to get a core value proposition around which you can build a business. And that is not learning. That is what we just talked about, which is trying to get the agencies to use your platform because of your collaboration functionalities, not because of how to get work, but because of your collaboration facilities. So that is the only viable business I see here.
Okay. And can I ask my questions, or are we over time now?
Yeah. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay. So now that I've kind of built the product, and obviously once I understand that there's a certain amount of validation that I have to do, how do I get investors on board? Because there's a lot of functionality that I've kind of bootstrapped myself. But now I see that the next progression in terms of functionality that has to come through investments. So when would that happen? What stage?
Until you can get customer validation, no investor will touch this with a 10-foot pole. So go first and foremost figure out which, if the agencies are willing to get on the platform and pay for it, and figure out how much they're willing to pay, how they want to pay, etc. We don't know yet what business are we talking about here? What is the business? So until you figure that out, there's no chance of any investor touching.
Okay, perfect. So second question is, I am currently trying to, because I've done this myself only, it's just me. So I'm trying to get some sort of a CTO or a technology person into the role so he can kind of help validate a lot of the technology that I'm trying to build. Some of it's been built. The platform is up and running. Writesmiths.com is active. but there's a lot of technology with respect to blockchain and stuff like that I want to get built into the platform. Now that can either happen through funding, or I can get someone to kind of come on board as a CTO and build this himself or herself, obviously.
Right now,
so
the stage
how
you're
does that
at,
happen?
The only kind of people you would be able to hire are people whom you know and who know you, who are interested in working with you. I don't think you can attract people beyond that at this stage of the game until you flesh things out much more. So my guidance to you would be to go do the validation, get customers to engage and pay for what you've built, and start using the product and figure out what is the business, and then organically build from there.
I think that kind of answers my other three questions as well. Just the developer. There was someone who reached out to me and said that what you can do is you can open up the platform to outside developers as well, and they can kind of build it up. But I think that might be.
But you're not trying to do this as an open source model. You want to charge for it. You want the agencies to pay for it, and that's the only way you're going to be able to bootstrap. So I don't think that's a reasonable answer.
I don't actually want the agencies to pay for it. Anything that will happen on transactions. So anyone who's working with the agency will be charged. It's a one-sided, scenario.
I don't agree with that. I think your pricing needs work if your agencies are not paying for it, and if you're that's where the pricing model is going to break down, I think. So unless you can.
Okay.
You're going to need to get the agencies to pay. That's going to be the easiest way for you to build this business, is to become a collaboration platform for the agencies to use the product and pay for it in a software as a service model. I think that's the business that I see that's viable here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have Dr. Sunil Gopal Samanta from New York, USA. Sunil, please unmute your line.
Hey, greetings, Samana and all attendees, future viewers. This is Dr. Sunil Gopal Samanta. I would like to make presentation on buttons metrics. This was the original idea, and from that, two things came up. One is what I have already implemented in my website, americaninternetmetrics.com, and another is application of buttons metrics in any website, intranet, software, user interface, and like that. So my value proposition for first concept, that is what I call AIM, americaninternetmetrics.com, is explore internet beyond keywords search. Next slide, please. So I start with the pain points and the solution. So pain points, we all know that we live in an information era. We find there's a data deluge, lot of data, and it is difficult to extract relevant information. And if we think today we are in data deluge, just wait for 5 more years and see what happens after that. We will keep getting more and more data, and it will become more and more difficult to extract relevant information. And this is one of the reasons UX experts are in high demand today. Now, we have some solutions. For example, we can use search engines to extract relevant information from the internet or websites, but they have their own limitations. One is they use artificial intelligence or algorithmic intelligence, which has a lot of strong points. However, there are some scope left in human intelligence, which I call HI. So I would like to exploit this unexploited potential of HI and use it in implementing buttons metrics that would help user get better information, more information, and relevant information. Another limitations of search engines is they provide you billions of hits. Who has got time to explore all those hits? For example, if you search nothing on some search engine, you may get, say, 1.7 billion hits. Don't click on any link, but just go to next page. Next page, it will take 50 years to explore all the pages, not going to any website. So basically, those 1.7 billion hits may not be useful. By some research, 90% keyword search ends on page 1 and another 5% on page 2. So 95% search ends in 2 pages. So 20 links generally you can say are more relevant to the user. So I have used button metrics which provide much more than 20 links and fraction of second. So in a way, it is even faster than the fastest search engine. Next slide, please. So what I have done is I have implemented these button metrics on my website because one particular party I have made presentation using PowerPoint prototype. They did not get the idea. Technical people did get some idea, but those who make decisions, like vice president, they said, if you show me in website, that would make more sense. So I developed this. So here, my idea is to show you what my website is, as well as help you understand 3 tiers of buttons, 1 tier, 2 tier, and 3 tier. So here we are on 1 tier button where is 500 popular buttons. In any country you access, so I access this in United States, so it gives me 500 popular websites. If you are in India, it will give you 500 popular websites in India. The next button is million popular, which has got million buttons linked to million popular websites in the world. Next slide, please.
I think it's a terrible user experience, Sunil.
Is it terrible user experience?
Yes.
Sorry to hear that. I showed it to many people and they love it. And URLs linked to buttons, they find it very easy to navigate and explore. And the best part of this is, it is not the button metrics user interface, what you can do with that. Like you have one button, sort AZ at the top. So that helps you sort the buttons in A to Z order. Later on, I intend to implement more buttons, for example, frequencies, which URLs are getting more frequent visitors. Then there will be another button. This is not showed currently, it will be implemented later on, which buttons you have where users spend more time and like that. So if you go back to previous pictures.
So I think we've got it, what you're trying to do. Let's go to questions and what is the business that how do you charge? How does this become a business?
Okay, so here I have the ad rates which advertiser may have to pay to advertise on my website after it becomes popular. Just now it is not, so I'm just showing you these ad rates. This slide shows you the first point is businesses that would like to advertise, which would be buttons on those websites. To start with, I'll focus in USA and India and later on global market. So this is one segment. The second segment is those who would like to use button metrics user interface template. So they could be businesses, government, colleges. You may use this even on software and any digital control panel or user interface. I often find problems using Microsoft Office products, even though I'm conversant with them for over 20 years, and they may also benefit using this. Next slide, please. Samana, next slide, please. The customer acquisition strategies I use currently word of mouth and in-person contacts, digital marketing through social media. That I just tested once, but later on, once I'm filtered, I filter my website through dead links. I may more aggressively advertise on social media and on search engines like PPC and like that. Customer validation. Majority of my students, they liked this idea. They wanted me to implement in the college that I was teaching, and I did make presentation to the management a couple of times, and they seemed to be interested, but they ran out of funding, so it stopped there. One foreign government contractor wanted monopoly for his particular country, even at PowerPoint prototype stage, which I said he will have to wait. I'll contact him again. Then I presented to about 4 villages. Of that, 2 village administrators liked it, and we are in discussion to implement button metrics on their website. I also showed this to one ex-CFO, CIO, and strategy director of Fortune 50 companies. He confirmed button metrics has potential, and I'm in touch with him, and later on we'll see what collaboration I can have with him in connecting to some for-profit businesses to implement this. Next slide, please. So these are the questions to Samana. One is, do you find button metrics novel? I answered yes.
So the answer to, let me just run through the questions. Do you find button metrics novel? No. Do you find button metrics useful? No. Ad rates? No. I don't think the ad rates make sense. I don't think this is a viable business, Sunil, and I'm going to be very blunt and tell you that this is not a viable business. What you're trying to do is not going to scale or be monetizable.
I appreciate your feedback. Next slide, please.
Why don't we ask the audience, people in the audience, if you would like to throw in your perspectives on these questions that Sunil has up here. What are your thoughts based on what you heard so far? Anybody wants to weigh in? Samir Penkar is saying can't see a solid value proposition. Anybody else wants to? Rishi Gupta says don't even understand it. Samir Penkar says can't see how you will make money. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, perspectives from the audience? Does it list sites that Google does not? Sunil, do you want to answer that question?
No, it doesn't have relation to Google's results, and I have not compared them, so I would not know, but I'm sure Google would have all those websites covered.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, well, it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of resonance here. In this, your other questions like what strategic alliances can be fruitful, strategic alliances only happen if you have a compelling value proposition, and I'm kind of tripping right out of the gate. I don't see a compelling value proposition here, so I can't recommend any strategic alliances. If I owned this business, how would I manage this business? I would shut it down. What would be a good exit strategy? Good exit strategy right now is to not get into this business. That's my advice. Because this is something you're going to waste a lot of years of your life and not get anywhere with it.
Shramana, thank you.
Sorry to be discouraging, but that is my very honest, direct feedback.
Yeah, that is what I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, folks. I'm going to tell you a bit about 1M1M and how to use the program. If you like what we're doing here, and you saw that I'm giving very direct feedback, right? I'm not sugarcoating the feedback at all. And I think that's the only way you can actually get value of this session. If I kind of tell you what you want to hear, that's not very valuable. So if you like this kind of direct, unadulterated, unsugar-coated feedback, and if you're a serious entrepreneur, or if you know serious entrepreneurs who are interested in building companies over the long haul. Building a company is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something that's easy and quick and you make a lot of money. That's just not how building companies works. So if you can, if you understand that that is going to be a long journey, really a huge amount of heavy lifting over a long period of time, that's the kind of entrepreneurs we like to work with, people who do have the tenacity and the rigor to really, really put in serious amounts of work and build block by block. And if you're willing to do that, we can teach you a lot. You know, we have methodology here which actually works because we have already, you know, you applied that methodology and made a lot of entrepreneurs successful. But if you're trying to short-circuit that methodology and do it some other way, then this may not be the right program for you. So resources-wise, go to 1Mby1M.com. There's a tremendous amount of material there, learning touch points, and I will walk you through a bit of the organization. There is a blog, which is free and which is incredibly rich, where a huge amount of our community of experts are constantly featured, and they, you know, share their stories, their journeys, their lessons from the trenches, and you can learn from them. And you can learn from my analysis and my writings and all these interviews and so forth that we publish all the time, both video as well as text. We also have podcasts, by the way. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series is another good touch point. There are 12 volumes of case study-based books where, again, successful entrepreneurs have shared their journeys and their insights. So this is a good learning starting point as well. These roundtables happen every week. Every week now we have roundtables throughout the fall, almost all the way until Thanksgiving. So, you know, plenty of opportunities for you to come and work. This is a working session, as I said. You can come and work here with me. The premium program is our full acceleration program. There you get a full methodology guidance. You have an online curriculum that is a case studies and video lectures based curriculum. You get help with business development. You get this kind of you know, roundtable strategy consulting, but it is in you know, the members only mode. So these recordings are not published outside of the program. We do help you with financing, but there's a caveat. You have to be fundable, and we work with you through the process of either helping you become fundable or helping you bootstrap such that you can put one foot before the other and eliminate the need for financing and build your business in an organic, self-financed way. One way or the other is fine. We don't necessarily force you to get funding either or become fundable, but we basically design the investment strategy to what fits your business, what is likely to work for your particular business. And we have a lot of clout in the media. We can help you get a lot of attention, media attention, through our channels. Go to the 1M1M self-assessment on the website, and there you will find a set of questions. These are questions that I would like you to answer about your business, and that is really important because these are questions that investors would ask you, and you would need to answer those questions. And you are the first and the most important investor in your company. So it's great if you can answer these questions in a very meaningful, solid way so that you have a strategic game plan that is clear to you before you have to defend yourselves in front of investors. If you get stuck on methodology points, you know, where you have a question in the self-assessment that you're not able to answer because you don't really know how to do that, you know, that piece of the strategy, go use 1M1M Basic and learn through the curriculum. It's an online case study-based curriculum and video lectures, and you can just learn very quickly whatever, you know, methodology gaps that you have in your learning. So go dig around in the website. You'll find tons of material, what to expect from the premium program, the basic program, video FAQs, FAQs, description of the curriculum. It is a case study-based program. You know, we have over 750 successful entrepreneurs who have been part of the development of this program. They've shared their journeys, the entrepreneur journeys, their lessons from the trenches, their insights, their case, their strategies that have worked, failures, mistakes, and all that has been, kind of stitched together to give you an efficient way of learning the methodology of entrepreneurship that works, a methodology of entrepreneurship that works. Is this the only way you can learn entrepreneurship strategy? No. There are many other ways. You can learn it yourself by just digging around on the web. You can, there are many, many ways. This is a very efficient and effective way. So it is one of your options, and you have to decide whether this is the right option for you or not. Our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. And even if you raise money, we want you to follow this methodology to get to validation and in some cases traction, depending on the kind of business, before you can raise funding. And you have to bootstrap first and raise money later, because that's how the industry operates today. We do a lot of conversations with investors as well, and investor after investor will tell you that they want to see validated businesses if they want to invest in your company. So unless you have a validated business, investors are not going to invest. And that is a fact of life. There is absolutely no going around that. So that's it. All Thursdays in September, we have roundtables. So please, come by, and if you want the slot to present, go to the website under free public roundtables, register to pitch, and Maureen will get back to you with the precise instructions. And we are ready for Q&A. So anybody who wants to ask questions is welcome to either call in, let me know if you're calling in so that I can call for you, or use the public chat to ask questions. Yes, great participation from attendees today. Samir Penkar, how many entrepreneurs have you helped so far? So, Samir, this question kind of is hard to answer, but I'll give you some metrics that you can extrapolate from. In these roundtables, we have well over 50,000 attendees. So we're probably somewhere in the 60,000 plus attendees at this point. We don't disclose how many premium members we have. The entire 1M1M community, we do a lot of publishing, right? Every single case study is available for free on our blog, and we get a tremendous amount of traffic, not only to the website, but also through the publishing work that we do on LinkedIn and all the other social media channels. Just to give you some, kind of broad benchmark figures, we have a community of over 500,000 people who are following our work and learning from the material that we publish. We have a lot of material on YouTube, the videos on YouTube and so forth. So it's a large community, and people are learning at different levels. Some are learning for free. Some are learning by coming to roundtables. Some are learning from 1M1M Basics. Some are learning from 1M1M Premium. Some are learning from reading articles, and some are learning from reading books. So that's, the overall impact of the 1M1M community is quite large. Does that answer your question, Samir? Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? While you're asking your questions, let me also introduce you to Irina Patterson. Irina will answer any questions you have about the 1M1M program to gauge whether this is for you, is it the right platform for you, etc. Ask any questions you wish to Irina at 1M1M.com. Sunil Samanta is asking me privately, but this is not a private forum, so I'm going to just read out your question and try to answer it so that everybody can hear me. Sunil is saying, I appreciate your unvarnished feedback. You consider Button's matrix not novel. I'm curious to know if you have seen anything like it before and where. So Sunil, there's been a whole composite query industry that has come before, which I actually find quite novel. And the way that composite query industry operated is, if you have a certain workflow within a particular software system or in a consolidated form across multiple different software systems, and you have a query that needs to process responses from multiple different systems, and you have this composite button, so to speak, which works through all those different workflows or all across those different software systems. That, I think, is a much more sophisticated version of what you are talking about here. So I have seen it better. I have seen it before. I've seen it better, which is why I don't find what you're proposing novel. In fact, I find it quite naive, actually. Does that answer your question, Sunil? Anybody else? Questions, comments? Samir Penka is asking, do the private roundtables work like this one? Do you facilitate them? Yes. The private roundtables work exactly like this one, but there's a difference. The difference is this. You have access to the curriculum. So very often, because the curriculum is part of the premium program, very often you would be coming to the private roundtables having done the curriculum material that is relevant to the topic that you want to discuss. So, for example, let's say we are positioning your product. You've done the curriculum module on positioning, and then by the time you're coming and working with me in a private roundtable, you have all the terminology, the methodology of positioning that we are using to do the positioning on your particular business. So you and I are on the same page on the methodology front, and so therefore, when we are working with a certain terminology and certain methodology framework with us, and it goes much faster, and we can dive much deeper into your project because of that methodology level setting. Same thing, you're working on, let's say, total available market sizing, right? Total available market sizing, our philosophy in the 1M1M program is top-down TAM is kind of irrelevant. We focus only on bottom-up TAM. And, that is true about the industry in general. The investors only care about bottom-up TAM. So we have a methodology of how to do bottom-up TAM analysis. And before you and I actually look at your TAM model together and I give you feedback and I give you like, okay, do this, do that, change this, change that, you have already gone through the bottom-up TAM analysis module. So you and I are on the same page in terms of exactly how you're supposed to do this. And then when we are actually working on your bottom-up TAM together, we can go much deeper as a result of that. Do you understand what I'm saying, Samir? And does that answer your question? All right, Jasna, just a moment. I'm coming to you. Let me take Samir's last question. Do we get access to your network? Say we need to talk to CIOs. Do you facilitate warm connections? Absolutely. You have access to my entire network because as long as you're a premium member, we have very specific guidelines on how you can access my network. You can actually, anybody that I am connected to, you can request introductions to, and I will introduce you with, as long as it's your value proposition of what you're asking from that network. If you want to talk to CIOs, I'll introduce you to CIOs, etc. All of that is part of your premium membership. Samir, are you satisfied with all the answers? I'm going to move to Jasna after you. All right, Jasna Ostojik. Jasna, where are you joining from? And actually, all of you, where are you joining from? Who are you? What are you working on? Some introduction would be great because this is also a bit of a networking opportunity usually where people can get to know one another and we can get to know you as well. Jasna is from Chicago. Jasna is thinking of joining the premium program. Company is very different from what I've seen here. How do I assess if this is the right place for me? Well, you can do it here by giving us a quick summary of what you are working on, and I'll tell you right now. Or you can contact Irina, and she will be happy to, help you figure that out. Irina at 1Mby1M.com. She can get on the phone with you and work through that. Or you can come and pitch at the next week's roundtable, and I'll help you figure that out. All of those are options for you to figure out whether it's the right program for you or not.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, this is Shukla.
Hi, Venk. You made it.
It was an unplanned and a really late evening. I got home about 2 a.m. at night, and then there were a whole lot of other things that I needed to take care of. And by the time I finally got around to sleeping, it was 5 a.m. So looks like the alarm went off, but it looks like I turned it off without realizing it.
All right. So let's, we do have some time left in the session. Normally, folks, we have our guests at the beginning of the session and do the mentoring afterwards. Today, Venk is a little bit late, but let me introduce you Venk Shukla from TiE Angels, and we're going to have a conversation with Venk about how TiE Angels is going about looking at the entrepreneurship ecosystem and so on and so forth. So let's dive in. Venk, tell us about TiE Angels and how do you work with investors and with entrepreneurs?
So, TiE Angels is about a 7-year-old organization, and it's really a collection of individual investors, who who in general tend to focus on B2B kind of companies, and the whole idea is that that the collective wisdom of the group, helps make better decisions, improves the deal flow, and as well as collectively they are better able to help the entrepreneurs. But I have to tell you that that I have I'm also a VC now. I have a seed stage fund called Monta Vista Capital. So,
okay.
So bulk of my time is spent on Monta Vista Capital, but I do participate in TiE Angels still.
Okay, and how big a fund is Monta Vista Capital?
So the first fund was $10 million, and the second fund is in the middle of raising is $30 million, and the first close is already done, and I already started investing from my second fund also. The first fund made about 20 investments, and about 18 of them were on B2B also.
So your focus, as well as TiE Angels' focus and Monta Vista Capital, all of it is in the B2B software segment.
In general, that's the accurate statement to make. The only exception is where in those consumer areas where a deep technology IP is the differentiator and the driver.
Okay.
That's the only exception. Otherwise, B2B is the default.
Can you talk a bit about stage? What is the comfort zone for you and for the TiE Angel community, for the Monta Vista Capital investments? What do you look for in what you're willing to consider as an investment?
In general, TiE Angels and Monta Vista Capital, I think we are a seed stage investor, which is before the VCs have come in. And in general, we look for at least a team, and we look for a big idea, but also we look for validation of that idea. Validation does not have to be revenue. Validation does not have to be a product developed and everything, but validation is that if you think that this is your product vision have you talked to people in that domain? Have you talked to potential customers in the domain? And what do the potential customers say about the problem you're trying to solve, and the urgency of solving it, and their willingness to pay for solving that problem, and how much are they willing to pay for that problem? So I think it's not just a raw idea, but the experience and expertise of the team, as well as the validation of that idea in some form.
So when you say you're looking for a big idea, talk to us a little bit about how you are, where in the B2B software segments are you seeing these big ideas, and maybe a few examples of the kinds of things that either you've invested in through TiE Angels or through the first Monte Vista Capital Fund.
So
just to give us a flavor.
So here's an example, right? Let's say in big data, there are a lot of companies that seek to solve the problem if there is a lot of unstructured data. There are also traditional companies like Teradata and products like Exadata from Oracle that solve the problem if you have only structured data. The reality is that today you have a mix of unstructured and structured data, and in huge quantities, and there is no solution to that, because all the Hadoop-based solutions really don't have a good sense of structured data and how to handle that. So that's a big problem to solve, and it's not. Solution of this problem, say, requires a fundamental understanding of not just the relational algebra, which is behind databases, but also very good understanding of how to handle unstructured data. So that's a big problem to solve. Another big problem to solve, for instance, would be, how do you, there are a lot of chatbots right now to automate customer support, but all the big enterprises, these chatbots, very soon would need to pull out information from their SAPs, from their Oracles, from their Salesforces and stuff. So not a technology in isolation, but a technology that knows how to work with all these back-end software. So innovation, innovation by itself is okay, but innovation, with the eye on solving a particular problem is better, and it's potentially a big problem to solve. Another example, would be, in cybersecurity, all the existing products that exist, they're all rule-based, which means they throw up a huge number of, and rule-based ones are basically based on prior experience and expertise of the team. But the cyber attackers have become so sophisticated that you need solutions that that can evolve, and grow and think for themselves, which means artificial intelligence, which machine learning. So how do you apply machine learning as a replacement or as an enhancement or rule-based solutions that exist to prevent data theft? So these are some trends. The interesting thing is that what has happened is that because of cloud, the data center, the problems that used to exist in data center, they're all migrating to the cloud. So all those problems need to be solved again. Plus, it's generating a new set of problems. So there is no. So I don't think that all these problems have been solved. There are a lot of new problems to solve in that sense.
So I'll provide a bit of commentary for the audience on some of the things that you mentioned as trends. So the unstructured data problem, we've actually seen this unstructured data problem also being solved for, almost a couple of decades. There have been companies, major companies that have been formulated on this unstructured data problem. Autonomy was one of them that went very big, actually, on that problem. But today, one of the trends that we are seeing is that this whole unstructured data problem being solved for specific verticals or specific functional areas, and solutions built on top of solving that unstructured data problem in a cloud-based architecture with AI, and those can be very interesting, very compelling new companies to pursue. On the cybersecurity side, there's a lot of AI applications in the cybersecurity side. Cybersecurity, however, is an extremely over-invested segment. It has always been so. If you look at the last 20 years of the venture capital industry, cybersecurity may be one of the most heavily invested areas in the industry. So if you are doing a company in cybersecurity and you're looking for angel investors, seed investors, and eventually VCs, you would need to position your product very, very sharply so that you can differentiate and clearly articulate where exactly you play in that heavily crowded market. So those are just kind of like a couple of comments based on the trends that we have just discussed. Venk, I'm going to ask you to comment on a few broader trends that I have identified, and I'm getting inputs from lots of investors on these trends. So let me get your input here as well. One of my observations is that we are in 2017. Lots of stuff have already been built, but there are many niche opportunities around what has already been built. Some of these businesses need to be built for very small amounts of capital, $1 to $2 million, and sold for 10 to 15 million. Is there appetite in your community for this type of investment? And what about a lot smaller, like invest 250K to 500K and sell for 5 to 10 million?
I think that's a very attractive proposition. When I started out, as an angel investor in 2010, 2011, that was my guiding principle, that I would look for those kind of opportunities. What I gravitated towards was, again, going for big ideas, and the reason for that was simple. What I discovered was that startups are inherently risky, and unless you are going into an area where the barrier to entry is so high that you just don't see more than a company or two in that area. It's very hard, to figure out where to bet on, because startups are inherently risky, and they fall apart, for non-business reasons. Sometimes the founders don't get along with each other. Sometimes there's a lawsuit. Sometimes, for a whole variety of reasons. So as an investor, as a professional investor, you soon realize that that risk is not any smaller investing, in a niche market, because the whole lot of other risks that exist, with any startup, apply to those startups as well. The only exception, here would be something like, let's say, semiconductor intellectual property, where there are only 5 or 6 experts in the world, who really understand that area, and 2 of them are working, with this great professor, who has dedicated his life to understanding, that area, and they start an intellectual, semiconductor IP company. You can be pretty sure that it's not going to be a crowded space, and you could be pretty sure that if they do the job well, the company will have an exit for, $20 to $40 million. But other than those kind of, those niche areas, anything else, there's a risk that it could become a feature of a bigger platform or a bigger play, and then unless your timing is right, and you're targeting the potential acquirers very well, you could just miss the opportunity.
Right. So this is actually a very good point that I'm seeing in the people who are, there are angels who are angels and incubators, accelerators who are following this strategy of going after these smaller opportunities, niche opportunities, where you're right, you need to find an expert who's a real expert in that specific domain, and then the cycle kind of needs to be closed with the acquirers. So these kinds of opportunities are best tackled when you have a good close relationship. As an investor, you have a good close relationship also with the corporates who are going to become the eventual acquirers. So you're almost like, validating it with the acquirers, building it up to a certain point, validating the opportunity, and then, selling into that acquirer who has almost given you a thumbs up front that, yes, go and build this and we'll acquire you.
Yeah. No, I think that's I think this game can be played, but it requires a really, really deep domain, not just deep domain expertise, but deep domain relationships.
Relationships, yes.
So that, if I'm doing this marketing automation, this niche in marketing automation, here are the three potential acquirers, and they need to know what specifically I'm doing, and so that I could have a quick exit. Because if I don't have a quick exit, then all these assumptions, all this, you have to raise more money, and if you raise more money, then the valuations, and if the valuations, then the expectations of exits are higher, and on and on and on. The problem compounds itself very, very quickly.
Yeah. So you can play this at with a very specific domain focus, with a specific set of corporates around you, and in some cases, actually, these corporates are investing in these little micro funds that play this game. So it is a little, side of the industry that is developing because, we are in 2017. There are these little niches which are not venture scale niches. They're not going to be venture fundable. So if you can only play these if you work with little bits of, seed money and then pretty much go straight to acquisition and not go out to raise a venture round.
Yeah, absolutely, but as critical is understanding of the niche and the technical chops to develop it is the relationship in that target ecosystem. I mean, are you familiar? Are you aware, or do you have anybody in your team?
Totally agree.
That has that visibility and relationship with the key players in the industry.
Yeah. Next question, another trend. How do you process the current investment climate where capital is moving further and further upstream? How does an angel group or an entrepreneur, for that matter, mitigate the Series A gap? Funds are becoming bigger, and the venture funds, venture funds becoming larger means that they can only do larger Series A's. So, and there is a group of investors that are playing into that gap and doing the 2 million, 3 million Series A's, but the more traditional firms are going to 5 million, 7 million Series A's, and they want, they already want a 1 million ARR, in the case of a cloud investment before they're going to put in any money. But getting to 1 million ARR, as you know, as a seed stage investor, takes time and takes quite a bit of navigation, and sometimes that is a gap where people are falling into. So they get a very, very beginning investment, and then they're not quite ready for Series A, so they need more money in that gap stage. How are you dealing with that in your funds or in your TiE Angels investments, and how are your entrepreneurs dealing with that?
It's a very good question. I think, I have one situation where, and that's really is in the crowded cybersecurity space, where there have been some because there have been some failures in that space, or failures in the sense that that people have raised a huge amounts of money, but they haven't really delivered, corresponding returns. So VCs have become worried. That's one situation I'm aware of where this Series A gap is a problem. But in all the other companies that I'm seeing, if you're really solving, a potentially big problem, and you're solving it, in a way that inspires confidence, I'm not seeing that problem. I'm seeing that problem, only where it's a struggle, to differentiate the company and what it does in a very fundamental way. But if you're doing something which is highly differentiated and potentially a big market, I'm not seeing any problems with getting Series A funding, whether it's 3 million or 10 million. There are plenty of choices available, as you said, because NEAs of the world and Sequoias of the world want to invest 5 to 10 million. There are plenty of these $100 million funds that have come up, in last 2-3 years to pick up that slack, and they are pretty active. But
yes, I think the best thing that has happened for the Series A gap actually is this, in the last 3-4 years are the $75 to $100 million funds that are willing to do the 2 million, 3 million Series A's, because that was clearly a requirement in that category.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think to give you a perspective, on my fund, I have about 12 major investments, and about 7 of them raised venture funding, and none of them had any difficulty. 3 of them are not raising any VC money because they're doing well. Only one of them is having a problem, and it's having a problem because they happen to be in a very, very crowded cybersecurity space where a crisp differentiation from the pack is a challenge.
It's very hard, yes, very, very hard. So of your ventures, the ones that have raised venture money, have they raised venture money from these $75 to $100 million kinds of funds, or have they raised money from the bigger funds?
They are typically raised from bigger funds because these are big spaces. Like one of them I talked about was, how do you handle structured and unstructured data together? And that's a very, very big problem to solve. Every company in the world has that problem, and there is no solution. So that's one. With the onset of only predominantly mobile access, the old networking problems have not gone away, but the new ones have piled on top of that. With cloud applications, mobile devices, access points, and the bandwidth thing. So how do you quickly, using machine learning, how do you quickly isolate a problem when somebody complains of poor responsiveness? And so that's a new category of big problem. The third one is how do you create a virtual private cloud in minutes? So that the traditional route of DevOps and testing and deployment, those are 3-4 months long processes. How do you cut that short and do it in minutes when something has to be rolled out very, very quickly in a very secure way? Something like using artificial intelligence to prevent data theft.
Okay. So these are the kinds of problems that for lack of better words, are where the unicorns are supposed to come from. Yes,
absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. So my learning has been that in theory, what you said about if you're a small investor, then the strategy is to find a niche, a defensible niche, and entrepreneurs who can exploit that niche and get an exit. And if you can, in practice, what I found was that those combinations are very hard to find, except in industries like semiconductor, intellectual property. In any other space, whatever niche that you start out with could easily become a feature of something bigger, or if it's not executed very, very quickly, then there are plenty of others who show up. And,
yes.
and then if you can't get a quick exit, then all those problems multiply.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. You can play that game only with relationships into the acquirers. Otherwise, you can't play that game.
You can't play that game because if it's taking longer and then you have to raise money, then you are back to the same equation again. Except you are working in a small niche where in the best case
you can't
scenario,
raise money.
Yeah.
Small niches don't have time to raise venture capital at a significant level.
Exactly.
No, but getting back to the unicorn opportunities, those are also few and far between. It's not like unicorn opportunities grow on trees, and that has a different set of issues that are happening right now. Because there's so much money in the hands of the larger funds, and there's so much private equity and late-stage funds, and the epitome of that is SoftBank's $100 billion+ Vision Fund. There is unicorn mania right now. So if there is a fund, there is a company that has the characteristics of, being able to become a unicorn, that those companies get smothered with funding. And as a seed investor or as an angel group, you could get buried under later stage liquidation preferences. How do you protect it?
I think it's a good point. This problem presents itself, if the opportunity is attractive, then the investors, are careful, and the company has a lot of negotiating leverage. So I'll give you one example. This big data company that I was talking about, with no customers, no product, no revenue, they got a valuation of VCs put in $20 million at a valuation of $100 million, and this is potentially because they think it's a unicorn kind of a company. So this thing we're not stringent at all, because they want to get into the company. They cannot afford to dictate their terms.
Well, there are a bunch of problems coming about later on. So this is to get into the company, and then as you go further down, there are funds like there's a bunch of Middle Eastern money coming in and wanting to get into attractive deals like this, and they are buying out they're giving the founders a lot of liquidity as one of the ways of getting into the deal. That's creating another set of issues also. If you look at
that's very unhealthy.
Uber, for instance.
Yeah, that's very unhealthy. A really, really unhealthy kind of a trend.
Very unhealthy trend.
I'm seeing that, that happened, in India, 2-3 years ago. And all these entrepreneurs who haven't returned a single penny to the investors, they are buying, $5-6 million homes and, becoming active angel investors and stuff. And the companies, haven't done diddly squat so far.
Yeah, and this is a part of the problem of having too much money in the system.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree with you. But this too much money problem is really a later stage problem. At the early stage, at the seed stage, if you're not talking about ICOs for blockchain based thing, then it's not really a problem. And I think this overabundance of capital is for companies that are startups that are reasonably successful and raising these Series B, Series C types.
That's right.
But at the seed stage, I don't see that problem.
No. No, there is actually a pre-seed problem. There were like 70,000 companies that received angel financing or some sort of a seed pre-seed financing, very early stage financing. In the last few years, these numbers of like the companies that are getting these very early stage financing has been very high. But the number of companies that actually get venture financing remains at 1,200 or so. So there is in the middle where there is, companies that have crossed over to being credible companies, that set of companies is actually much lower. And a lot of companies that get funding are getting funding from, again, for lack of better words, dumb investors who don't know what they're doing, and they're just writing checks and creating a glut in the funnel in the early stages as well. But it is not. It's in the middle where you have good companies. People don't have access to the deal flow into those good companies, and so on and so forth. It's a kind of a cumbersome early stage that is developing because of the entrance of a whole lot of very impractical and unrealistic set of expectations on behalf of people who have made money in the last few years. So there's, smart money is rare, smart deals are rare, but there is a glut in the dumb money and dumb deals.
Yeah. I think that's there's one thing that that has happened recently is that the cost of starting a company has come down so much that there are thousands of experiments taking place, and actually, which is good for everyone, because more of these ideas you see get tested, you see, and explored, you see, and validated, and only some of them, you see, make it to seed funding, and then you see to VC funding. So for the VCs, I think the risk, this thing has gone down significantly, because by the time a company gets to them, a product market fit has already been established.
Yeah. And there is a lot more bootstrapping these days, which is a very healthy trend, because that's how you take out the product market fit risk, and the more you take that risk out before going to investors, the higher your probability of getting funded anyway as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I haven't seen the data, but my hunch is that the number of companies getting Series A funding is not any lower than what it used to be. It might even have gone up.
No, it's been constant for the last decade, about in that 1,200 or so level.
Yeah,
it hasn't changed very much.
Yeah, but what has happened is what you just said, the bottom of the pyramid, there are far more experimentation going on.
Exactly.
And which is good for the ecosystem, good for the economy. Except those who don't get funded, you see, subsequently it's good for everybody else.
Yeah. So last question, Venk. We're a bit over time-wise. What kinds of companies would you like to see? Give us some guidance on, like, what's your fantasy deal? What segment, or where do you think you would like to make further investments right now?
So the areas that that really excite me are ones, you see, where you're applying technology to solving, you see, some domain problem, let's say insurance industry or telecom industry or something, where you have some unique oil and gas industry, where you have some unique insight, where you have a deep understanding of the industry, and you're using, you see, technology to solve that problem. So that's one category of problems that I look at. I'm interested in those companies that are solving those. The second category is if it's a general purpose kind of across, you see, a lot of verticals kind of a platform kind of a technology, then you see what I'm looking for is some fundamental, transformational technology. and that really comes down, you see, very heavily, you see, on the expertise and the quality and the track record, you see, of the founders.
Of the founders, yeah.
Or the third one, I'll tell you, you see, one company I invested in, one of the rare consumer companies I invested in, they make women's bras using, there's some tricks up the sleeve in terms of, you know, fit of the bra as well as the supply chain and all, you know, inventory and all those things. And that has been, you see, a surprising success, I see, in my portfolio. They will do something like, in the third year of their existence, they will do about $100 million in revenue this year.
Wow.
And so that's, again, it's a unique insight because the founders, you see, knew this problem that 30% of the women cannot find, you see, a bra their size, and they have to go to the store and try a number of different ones before they find it. So no, this is a company driven by that insight.
Yeah.
So I think something like that, you see, which is solving, you see, one particular industry's problem, driven by unique insight. I think even if the technology is not transformational. So that's one category, and the second category is where you're solving. Let's say, you know, you have the next generation application performance management solution. You have the next generation network analysis solution, something like this. Next generation, you know, database kind of problem. Those are the things that I'm looking for.
And when you do cybersecurity, you need to really be very precise in terms of positioning of how you differentiate in this very, very crowded universe.
You know, that's so you know, it's not just from venture funding standpoint. What I'm discovering is that in cybersecurity, every big company is dealing with at least 20 vendors, and they absolutely don't want to deal with 21st vendor.
Yeah.
So that's why you know, having something which is very crisply kind of identified, you see, and position becomes very, very important just to get traction in the market.
Yeah. Then there's a question from the audience. We'll take that question and then close off the session. How many ideas do you review in, say, a month when you're looking for companies to invest in?
You know, typically I review about you know, anywhere from 15 to 20 ideas, and the review is, you know, in some cases it's a full throttle review. In some cases, it's just looking at the, you know, looking at the presentations and quickly making a decision that this is not a good fit for me. But I, you know, about 15 to 20 pass through my desk, you see, every month.
Okay. Well, very good talking to you, Venk, and we'll, you know, hopefully we'll have a chance to work together more in due course. Thank you for making it. I know you had a lot of cumbersome logistics overnight, but I'm really glad that we were able to have you over anyway. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, and you're doing a good service to entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll see you next week. Make sure you register. If you're looking for a slot to pitch, please register on the website as you know, somebody wanting to pitch, and Maureen will get back to you with instructions. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.